Over the past year or so, the word reprojection has become a real hot button topic in the VR gaming community. I mean, the amount of anger and protest that is put out there when a new game gets announced that it has reprojection is frankly mind-boggling and up. I'm not very smart about all this stuff, so after hearing about it and seeing how mad everybody was, I thought I'd better give this a Google and let's find out what the hell is reprojection and why is everybody so mad about it. I still don't get it. I guess I do, but not enough to embarrass myself here and try to explain it. But what I do understand is that reprojection is causing this effect called ghosting. And it's the ghosting effect that is really pissing everybody off. And one of the games that I have heard mentioned the most that has this ghosting effect is Horizon Call of the Mountain. Oh, and to be clear, I'm talking about the PSVR 2 here, the PlayStation VR 2, the new version. So essentially, while you're in the game, if you look down at your hand and move your hand back and forth, there's like a ghosting or like a trail effect. Like, isn't that just motion blur? And doesn't real life have motion blur? Like right now, if I do this and wave my hand in front of my eyes, like I see trails, I see this ghosting effect. This is just what happens in real life. And the other game that I hear a lot about with this reprojection issue is GT7, Gran Turismo 7. And apparently it's when, if you're driving in one of the cars and going 150 miles an hour and you look out the side window, the trees and the people have this ghosting effect. So I have to say, like in real life, if I get in a car and I'm blasting along at 150 miles an hour, if I just happen to look out the side window, I'm going to bet you I'm going to get that ghosting effect or motion blur. But also, dude, keep your eyes on the road. Why are you looking at the side window? As a little side hobby, I do a little bit of, I make my own sort of music videos and edit them and film them and stuff like that. And one of the main things you learn right from the beginning is to film in 24 frames per second. You are trying to add motion blur. You want motion blur to make it more realistic and cinematic. I gotta wonder though, I wonder if it's like that, remember that blue dress, gold dress meme thing where I might see the dress as being blue, but if you look at that same image, you might see the dress as being gold. Quick funny little pop in here. What color dress did you see? While I was editing that, I've had to look at that image like 1,000 times back and forth. And it's weird because sometimes it was blue, but other times it was gold. Like it kept sort of bouncing between the two. It's very weird. Right now, when I'm watching and editing, I see blue. But previously I saw it as gold sometimes. Weird. Maybe it's the same thing because I have heard that some people just don't notice it. And some people are really greatly affected by it and it's game breaking. And I don't notice it, or it just doesn't bother me because to me, the motion blur or the ghosting is more lifelike and more realistic and what would really happen in real life. I get it. Like the people who are longtime avid gamers, it's always been about how sharp and clear that image is. And every time a new console is launched, the main focus is always like, hey, look how even sharper and even clearer we made this imagery for you. Isn't it amazing? But I don't think we should be looking at VR that way. Real life has motion blur. And isn't the point of these VR games to be more immersive and like real life? Let's put the cartoony games aside for now. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the games where the whole point is realism. That's the goal. You know, the Resident Evils, the Metro Awakening, Alien Rogue Incursion, those kind of games. That's what I'm talking about. You want them to feel as immersive and true to life as possible. And in my opinion, this ghosting or motion blur is more realistic, is more lifelike, is like real life. And the whole point of virtual reality games is the reality part. You know, these VR games are supposed to, you know, make us feel like we're really there, like we're inside this world. And real life isn't all crisp and sharp. I mean, maybe it's just me. Maybe my old geezer eyes aren't obviously crisp and sharp anymore. But, you know, we don't see it at 120 frames per second, right? That's why when you watch like a sporting event, okay, or a soap opera or a Canadian production like the shows we make up here, there's something weird about the way they look. And the reason for that is they're so clear and sharp, and the frame rate is so high that there's all the motion blur is gone. It's so clean and clear, but it looks weird. It's weird to watch that because that isn't realistic. That isn't what we really see. Like if you go to that exact same game, it doesn't look like that while you're sitting there watching the same way that it looks on the television screen. It's really weird. I don't know about you, but with the state of the world right now, most of the time I feel pretty defeated and helpless. And getting to immerse myself and like disappear through the snowy mountains to go and climb and take down some behemoths. Or head over to New Orleans and fuck up and smash open some zombie brains. Yeah. And then bask in that real sense of gratification and accomplishment that I get. It's amazing. It's that feeling far outweighs how sharp and clear they look, or if there even is motion blur or not. That's not supposed to be the point. And it seems like that's become the point. Everybody's so angry if the image isn't sharp as fuck. I think that we need to start looking at VR games with a different lens, pun intended. If we keep rating these VR games with the same criteria as flat games, the VR gaming world is going to advance even slower than it already is. And that's not good. We want VR to accelerate and blow open and become almost the norm. I do anyway. Now, I'm not saying that a game like Red Matter 2, for instance, that doesn't use reprojection, but it's super crisp and sharp, isn't fucking stunning in the headset. I'm not saying that because it is. It is a masterpiece, and it's an amazing game. God, I shouldn't have had that Taco Bell again. When am I ever gonna learn? Oh, God. Whew. That's not what I'm saying, because so is Gran Turismo 7 and Horizon Call of the Mountain. Those are beautiful games, even with this ghosting. But people choose to look at it as a failure, but it shouldn't be. Look at it as a positive. Look at it as that's more realistic. That's what it really looks like in real life. I think we've also forgotten that games are supposed to be about having fun, right? And if reprojection in a new game that's coming out causes you such tremendous discourse and anger that you feel that it's your sense of duty to announce to everyone online that you refuse to buy and play this game and fuck those developers, you've lost the plot, my friend. And I feel really bad for you because you are missing out on a great time. And dude, honestly, erupting like that online about a video game is only exposing other underlying issues that you might want to look at. Just saying.